Hello, my friends. Hello, and welcome once again to the wild Vaughn Manor, where Roger and I have returned. Because it's almost time for June on the Range. It's almost time for June on the Range. A fantastic reading event. It's fantastic, Roger, even if I do say so myself. It's a fantastic reading event dedicated to reading Westerns. That's right, it's time to read Westerns once again. June on the Range 2025. So I've always loved Westerns. I've loved Westerns since I was a little kid. And back when I was a little kid, there were still quite a lot of Westerns around. The Western genre in books dominated. Man, there were Westerns everywhere. There were thousands, millions of Westerns printed. And the Western genre was everywhere in the 20th century. Western films were made all the time. Western TV shows were always on TV. And in the book market, and the paperback market particularly, Westerns were huge. There was just an enormous amount of Westerns published. It's sort of hard to picture that now. But the Western genre, it's one that became popular. It became popular all throughout the world, despite being uniquely American. It became popular throughout the world, and you had Western writers from all over the world. But in America, at least, the Western became a part of our cultural heritage, so to speak. It was mythic in America, and it really became part of our cultural identity for a long time, the Western genre. And that's part of its appeal, I think. That and the stories tended to be action-packed, although Western stories could really tell any kind of story as long as it was set in the American West, usually sometime near the end of the Civil War up to the 1880s, usually. Sometimes, they were set after that. Sometimes they were set before that. But usually that's where you'll find most of your Westerns, in the 1870s and the 1880s. It was enormously popular, like I said. But eventually, the Western as a genre kind of died out. It is just a shadow of its former self right now. There was just so much of it that eventually Westerns became that most dreaded of things, old-fashioned, and it couldn't really compete with, say, science fiction, which became a more popular genre over the years, and fantasy. And because there was just so much of it, Westerns kind of collapsed under their own weight. But I love them. I love Westerns, and I always will, and I will always read them. And June on the Range is an event I created just, to read Westerns. Now, there are no real solid rules for June on the Range because it's a pretty wild event, Roger. It's pretty wild. There are no solid rules. Just read a Western or two or three or four, whatever suits your fancy. If you want the whole June on the Range experience, this is what I usually recommend, is to read one book by Zane Grey, who was a master of the Western and at one time was the most popular Western writer in America. One book by Louis L'Amour, who became the master of the Western and definitely is probably still the most popular Western writer who ever lived. And two other Westerns by other writers. You do that, you've got the full experience. I'm going to do a little bit more than that, I think. And I've got a whole posse of co-hosts joining me this year. I'll link them all down below in the comments. Go check out all their channels. They're all fantastic, and they're all joining me talking about June on the Range today. But, Roger, is it too much for you to wear a cowboy hat? He just doesn't get into the spirit of things. He's always running around naked, only covered with them bandages. It's a little loco, that Roger. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, what was I going to read, Roger, for June on the Range? Well, I'm not exactly sure, but I've got a whole pile of possibilities. The thing is, I've got a ton of Westerns. I've just got boxes of Westerns. I've got boxes I haven't opened for years, just sitting in the vault. So I've got a lot to read. So I opened up a box the other day and pulled some out. And I had some out already. One that I had out already is for Roger's Cheap Old Book Club. Roger has the cheapest book club around. Every book in Roger's Cheap Old Book Club is available for free on Project Gutenberg, including this book, which is The Virginian. It's The Virginian, the most famous Western novel ever written. I'm not sure that's still the case, but it's pretty famous. The Virginian is considered a classic. And I'm going to read it this June for Roger's Cheap Old Book Club. I have read this before, but it's been so many years that I have a vague recollection of it. But it's The Virginian. Let's read that. I'm going to read that. And you can join us for Roger's Cheap Old Book Club. And like I said, I always like to read a Zane Grey book every June on the Range. And I got this one as a gift. I got all kinds of really fancy, nice Zane Grey books. And I also got this one that apparently was available in a free library outside the Zane Grey Museum. This is Zane Grey's Robber's Roost. This is a very beat up old paperback with this fantastic photo cover. So how could I resist? And plus it's called Robber's Roost. It's got to be great. So this is going to be the Zane Grey book that I read this year, and I'm really looking forward to it. So Zane Grey. And I always read a Louis L'Amour, but there's two different Louis L'Amour books that I might read. And this is the first one. This is Westward the Tide. Westward the Tide, which seems like a very westerny Western book. So I might read Westward the Tide because I've had this sitting around forever. And I've never read this one. This is, I think, one of the books that he wrote in the 1970s. And I haven't read all of those. So I might read this one, Westward the Tide. Or I might read Kilo. I might read Kilo. I think I was going to read this last year or the year before and just never did. But it's Kilo. It's Louis L'Amour's Kilo. So I might read that. We'll see. And this year, I'm going to add Max Brand to the list because Max Brand was a tremendously popular Western writer back before World War II. And I got this one as a gift as well. This is Max Brand's Crusader. And this has 3 different stories in it, I believe, in this paperback. This is a leisure Western. Leisure Westerns no longer exist. And this is one of those. This is Crusader. So I might read this. I might read that one. Or I might read this one. This is Timble Gulch Trail from Max Brand. Timble. It's Timble. I could read. It's Timble Gulch Trail. He shot his way into trouble. Well, I hope he shot his way out of trouble. So yeah, he's built for trouble, according to the back. Yeah, he's just shooting everybody. Look at that cover. So yeah, Timble Gulch Trail. This looks like a good one. I might read that one. Now, I have a bunch of other Westerns. You know, you got to read other Westerns too for June on the Range. So I don't know how many of these I'll get to, but they're all intriguing in one way or another. This one I've just had sitting around like in the corner over there, like forever. This is Amos Flagg Lawman by Clay Randall. And I've been intending to get to this. I just haven't yet. But yeah, it's an Amos Flagg book. Amos Flagg Lawman by Clay Randall. So I might read that. It looks very cool. Now, this is based on a movie which I don't know that I've ever seen. Actually, it's not based on a movie. It inspired a movie. This is by Alan LeMay, who wrote The Searchers. And this is The Unforgiven. The Unforgiven. This is also published by Leisure Books. And I've definitely never read the book. And I'm trying to remember if I've ever seen the film. I hear the film was just okay. But I don't know that I've seen it. It's possible that I have, because I watched like a million Westerns when I was a kid. And I can't remember them all. But apparently, this was directed by John Huston. And Burt Burt Lancaster was in it, along with Audrey Hepburn. So, you know, you had big people making and starring in this film. And I just don't remember it. But it's The Unforgiven. There you go. I might read that. Then I've got Robert Kamen's Wind River Kill. It's Wind River Kill from Robert Kamen. That just looks cool, and it's a title. The title is awesome, Wind River Kill. So might read that one. We'll see. Now this one is a gold medal western, so that makes it awesome right there. This is Brand of a Texan. Brand of a Texan. Look at that cover. That's awesome. And get out of town, the marshal said. We want no murdering cutthroats here. Yeah, I guess the marshal wouldn't want that. But I think the murdering cutthroat in this book might be our hero. So it's Brand of a Texan, which looks like it's going to be pretty good. This is one I've been intending to read, but haven't. This is Action at Alamita. And I was actually born in Alamita, California, but it's probably not this Alamita. Probably not. We'll see. But there's some action going on there, apparently. Action at Alameda by Ray Goulden. Gunfire echoes through the darkness, signaling the beginning of Action at Alameda. So there you go. And this book, I just like the title. This is Halfway to Hell. It's Halfway to Hell. They're not all the way to hell in this book by Giles A. Lutz. This is a lusting, brawling, blood-swilling boomtown that ate men raw and spat out their ruined dreams. And the one man who wouldn't be broken. There's a one man who wouldn't be broken. Not going to spit out his broken dreams here halfway to hell. Which halfway to hell is apparently Butte, Montana. Just in case you were curious. You know, just in case you wanted to avoid that town where your soul would be spit out. Your broken dreams would be spit out. Yeah, Halfway to Hell. That looks awesome. And this is Luke Short. Luke Short. Luke Short's awesome. I like Luke Short. I have a ton of Luke Short books. This one is War on the, is it the Cimarron or the Cimarron? I don't know. That's how Western I am. But it's from Luke Short. Yeah, the savage novel of one man who stood up against the cattle barons, the army, the Cheyenne, and hell itself. He was standing up. He's not standing up on the cover. He's kind of lying on the ground. But, you know, details. This book looks cool. It's Luke Short. Luke Short usually delivers. Yeah, he wrote a lot. Now, you got to have yourself an ace double, right, Roger? So here's a double novel. This is Dead Man's Double Cross. It's Dead Man's Double Cross. From heir to saddle bum to the gallows. Wow, that guy's a real loser. We'll find out all about it in this double novel, but it's double. You flip it over and it's Wild Sky. The sky is wild. Run far, run fast, and run shooting. You gotta run shooting. This is by Harry Whittington. Harry Whittington, who I don't know that I've ever read a book by that guy. Maybe. But this is Wild Sky and Dead Man's Double Cross. So there you go, ace double. Those are always fun. I've got a couple more here that aren't paperbacks. This is Richard Matheson's By the Gun. 6 shorts stories from Richard Matheson in Evans Western. So Richard Matheson, who famously wrote I Am Legend and The Shrinking Man and a bunch of episodes of The Twilight Zone, along with a whole bunch of other stuff, usually known as a horror writer or a science fiction writer. And here we have one of his westerns. He did write a few westerns, and this apparently is some of his short stories. So I haven't read this one yet, and I don't know why, but I might read it for June on the Range. There you go. And last year, Roger, I read Zoro. My dog just looked up because my dog's name is Zoro. I read Zoro, the Complete Pulp Adventures Volume 1 for Roger's Cheap Old Book Club. So, perhaps I should get to Zoro Volume 2. Zoro, the Complete Pulp Adventures Volume 2. So, Zoro is a Western character. Took place out west, these stories, in California. It's a wild place, California. So, here we have Zoro, Volume 2. I should get to it. There were a few of these. There are like 6 volumes, I think, of Zoro, the Pulp Adventures. Even though Zoro, revealed his secret identity in the very first Zoro story, all of that was just forgotten about. I kind of admire the way Johnston McCulley just kind of forgot about that. He's like, what? The villain died? No, he's got to be brought back to life. No one will notice. And no one will remember that Zoro revealed his secret identity, so he could just keep having Zoro adventures. Why not? So the continuity wasn't particularly great in Zoro, in the Zoro series, but they're fun, and so I'm looking forward to reading this. And hopefully I'll be able to get to this this June on the Range. There's no way I'll be able to read all of this, and it's possible I'll read other stuff as well. You never know, because it's just a wild time on June on the Range, and I hope you join along and read some Westerns. It'll be fun. Okay, guys, I will catch you next time.